What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I have a very valuable guest, zoom in all the way in from the UK. Her name is Lucy Rivers. She's the CEO and founder of, Rivers Resume Services. I got a little caught up there, but I corrected myself. Sorry. But Lucy, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a little bit late there in the UK. Will you introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background and all those great things?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I've not really done a podcast before. I'm really excited. I'm Lucy Rivers and I'm from England. Obviously, it's very late here, as you said.
So it's time for a glass of wine, right? Is it past that point, like some wine, or
might even be past that point?
Okay, sorry, keep going.
Yes, I'm from England, but I actually spent a lot of my childhood abroad. I grew up between ages 5 and 15. I was in the Middle East, in Bahrain. So pretty much palm trees and pools. That was pretty much my childhood.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, by the time I came back to the UK, I was being home educated. So I basically didn't get any of the standard qualifications whatsoever. No GCSEs, no A-levels, none of that stuff.
Okay.
When I was 18, just went out, got a job at the cinema. Then I floated around a bit, did everything from being a cleaner to retail to, office work and all these kinds of things. And it just nothing fit.
Sure.
So I decided I wanted higher education. At that point, I took a fast track course, just sort of evenings after retail work in the day, just to get that chance to apply to universities. And in the end, I went to University of East Anglia, which is in the east of England, to take a course, bachelor's in film and television studies. I finished that and I went straight into a master's. I finished that and then I went near enough straight into a PhD, which I'm currently doing. However, whilst I was doing the master's, I had to support myself somehow.
Sure.
And I sort of fell into a role with a close friend of mine based in Dallas, Texas, or thereabouts, who was starting up a business on the back of her 18 plus years in HR.
Okay.
And this was sort of, career services and resume writing and all these kinds of things. And I learned through that, not just how to write resumes in ways that were pleasing and, met all of that kind of requirement, but also met the requirements for, what HR needs to see, what the employers need to see.
Sure.
In order to get through the barriers that the candidates of today face. So that's sort of where it all began. And from that, I've just accumulated more and more knowledge. Also on the LinkedIn side and how profiles and LinkedIn profiles lead to the success of job searches as well and all that kind of thing. And started my own business. And essentially my ethos is quality, expertise, results.
And yes, you do get results, but let's actually dive a little bit more into like what your services offer. So
Cool.
for everybody that's listening or tuning in, I actually am looking for a job. I'm currently unemployed. No, this is not my full-time gig. I would love it to be. I absolutely love doing the podcast, talking to dynamic people like Lucy. However, I am looking for a position, and I met Lucy through a mutual connection. And within probably 24 hours after she worked on my resume and my LinkedIn profile, I had gotten an interview with a position that I really coveted. So let's talk about the importance of like ATS, because I don't think a lot of people understand how important that is these days, because that's a huge factor with artificial intelligence and all that stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that and your knowledge behind it?
Sure, yeah. So the ATS, which stands for Applicant Tracking System, is basically what recruiters, employers, HR is using nowadays to filter resumes. So this is a program, this is a almost like a database of sorts. Its goal is to only allow the best of the best candidates in. Now, it doesn't necessarily do this. That's the problem with this system. What it does is it only allows certain people whose resumes are formatted the right way or who include the right keywords through. So this doesn't actually mean that the best candidates get through and the best candidates get seen. This is one of the major problems with the ATS and with the with the automation of this whole process.
Sure.
So essentially what it means is, say you've got an amazingly snazzy resume. It's got amazing colors. It's got a picture of you in the corner. It's got icons. It's got a pie chart that shows how successful you've been in your roles.
Yeah.
It's got all the bells and whistles. Yeah, this is probably not going to get through the ATS.
I wouldn't think so. It sounds like a little too convoluted.
It is a bit convoluted, and yeah, it's not a good idea. Also, never put a picture on your resume ever. Just don't do that.
So really quick, why wouldn't you put a picture?
Leads to discrimination.
Yeah.
So just in terms of, you don't want to give someone a reason to say no. You don't want them to say, oh, I don't like the expression on their face. Oh, I don't like the look of them. They look dodgy to me. So yeah, leads to discrimination. But quite apart from that, any graphics, any icons, any of these kinds of things, they will be auto-rejected by the ATS. So all of that effort, all of the prettying of this resume will be completely wasted. So that's the first hurdle. So, you need to have sleek but stripped down basic kinds of formatting in order to ensure that it'll pass properly into the ATS. It has very basic things. It's trying to grab names here. It's trying to grab a phone number there. It's trying to grab your experience and your skills and things. If it doesn't have, if it can't properly read and understand the resume, this is one of the main things that will, not allow you to get through it. So that's the first hurdle, is that, you have to have a basic enough format. But then there's another hurdle. Say you want to go for a marketing job and you're an amazing marketing person and you have loads of experience.
Sure.
But on your resume, you do not have marketing and advertising, marketing management, social media marketing, all of these kinds of words, these key words.
Yeah.
Then again, you will not get through the ATS once more, because it is looking for high matches for the job spec that is in mind.
Sure.
So once again, you will still not get through the ATS if you do not have the keywords as well as the right format. Now, suppose you have got a nice stripped down resume and your marketing jobs and everything, you've written marketing several times throughout the thing. But suppose that you don't have it written quite enough times, or you don't have quite the right titles in your past, or you don't have quite the right kind of, just not quite the right mix of things, then you will get through the ATS. So you'll be in there, you'll be in that sort of database.
Sure.
But you'll be way down here on it. It's still matching to best possible matches up at the top. And HR aren't going to start at the bottom. They're going to start at the top of this list.
Yeah.
So even then, even getting through the ATS, it does not guarantee you an interview unless you've got the right mix of these things just right. So this is why it's a struggle.
And well, I mean, it was very obvious with what you did for me, and doing some of those changes on my resume, it would made a world of difference. Now let's talk about the LinkedIn side of things, because you really kind of went through my resume, or went through my LinkedIn profile with a fine-tooth comb, and made some really significant changes that really, I believe, helped me stand out for the position that I applied for.
Yeah. So LinkedIn profile is actually been really fascinating just during the time that I've been building the business. LinkedIn has become more and more and more critical, I think, because about 6 months ago, I guess, I did a couple of resumes for a couple of people. They didn't want anything else. They just wanted a really nice resume.
Sure.
About 2 months, 2 months later, one of them came back to me and said, I've really had no luck at all. Do you think it's the keywords? I don't know what it is, but I've had nothing. I said, okay, well, before I change the keywords or anything, I need to know more about the job search and how you're running your job search. Can you possibly give me some links to what you've been applying to? So they gave me links to what they'd been applying to. They were all LinkedIn job links. So I said, okay. Yeah, so the reason that you haven't been getting anywhere is because it didn't really matter. The resume didn't really matter. That's why you haven't been getting anywhere.
Sure.
Because when it comes to LinkedIn jobs, which is a great and very useful tool, and I absolutely recommend it nonstop. But the problem with that is that it doesn't matter how good your resume is. LinkedIn jobs are first and foremost, I believe, checking your profile. They are checking your profile for the keywords and for the skill matches. So think of it as the same thing with an ATS, except they're grabbing your profile first and then resume is secondary. You'll still need that great resume in order to get anywhere in terms of getting towards an interview.
Sure.
However, first and foremost, it's looking at that profile. So yes, it's becoming more and more and more critical, I'm finding. And yeah, it's an amazing, amazing tool. But there are some things that you need to ensure that you've got down. Now, first of these is obviously you need to have the skill set. So you need to make sure that down in the endorsable skills, you've got all the right kind of skills, things that any role that you'd apply for would be looking for.
Right.
One of the great ways to do this is you could audit a whole bunch of jobs on LinkedIn jobs, for instance, the kinds of things that you'd want to apply to. Look at the right-hand side. They should say that some of the skills that they're looking for, make sure you've got those skills. It's as simple as that. But there are a lot of parts to it, and it is complicated. There's a whole lot to do with titling. There's a whole lot to do with how many keywords are in the profile itself. So, in the about section, you do need to still have those keywords. It's not just about the skills. It is about these things being throughout. And if you get this right, if you can get the mix of things right, what you essentially are able to do is create a sort of inbound flow. So recruiters are coming to you. You aren't having to go to them, because recruiters, that they have, a billion things to fill. They have jobs over here, jobs coming out of their ears. They've got, someone breathing down their neck, wanting to hear something about these jobs all the time as well. So, they can't always wait. They need to actively search sometimes for their candidates in order to get by. Yeah. The way they do this is they use LinkedIn. They search for the candidates that they want. And you come up in these searches if you have these things ticked. You'll get up higher and higher and higher. And there's so many things. The amount of engagement that you get for having the right kind of titling, it's crazy. You have over 70% more engagement for having a profile picture, another 70% on top of that 70% if it's a smiling picture and it's clear that you're smiling. And there you go, this makes a difference. See? So yeah, it is increasingly quite critical, because if you can just have something set up so that people are coming to you, you're not even having to actively apply to things. They're coming to you perhaps first, perhaps with things that aren't even up yet. That's your in to the hidden job market. So,
well, fingers crossed. So if this opportunity doesn't work out, that will start happening, because that would be awesome.
Fingers crossed.
So when I started working with you, and the reason why I wanted to record with you, because I found the information that you offer and that you help your clients through is so valuable, and it was fascinating to me to learn. And I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about a lot of things, but I definitely learned a lot more working with you. And you really take the time to work with your clients and give them the full benefit of what you offer. And I just thought that that was just amazing. And not only did you do such a great job, but you really just wanted, you actually care about your clients and wanting them to get a job, get them placed, and have them be successful. Can you tell us like why you feel that way and why you actually take that time to care?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I do care. I just want people to get the jobs that they want. I don't know that there's any, deep-seated reason for it. Um, I've had jobs that I didn't like, obviously, before I went to uni. I didn't enjoy those. If someone had come up to me and said, "Hey, you know what? I could give you a resume that'll make all of these terrible jobs go away, give you something much better," I'd have been very thrilled at that prospect. So that's probably a factor. But yeah, I just want people to get the opportunities, because the problem is this isn't taught.
Right.
This stuff isn't taught. It should be, I believe, taught at university level, perhaps.
Sure.
I mean, there is university help, of course. There are career services and all kinds of things that all universities have. But in my experience, and through the clients that I've been having, they tend to be about 10 years out of date, I think. It seems to me that the advice being given is about 10 years out of date, which just means that it's not really catering for the ATS for all of these situations, and for LinkedIn and how useful that is. And I'm not saying that students aren't being told to get on LinkedIn. Of course they are, but it is so much more complex than that if they want to really get somewhere, using LinkedIn as a platform, not just for searching, but to be found.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things.
So there's definitely a hole in the job, like in the job search area, where people like where there's not a lot of resources for people to go to actually. So I mean, I worked, as I told you, I worked with someone before to help me, streamline my resume, help me, make it stand out, what have you, and they did a terrible job. And so for you, you actually have gained this knowledge that I think a lot of people are lacking. So this really makes you stand out, and you offer a very unique service that, I mean, I've never experienced before.
Well, thank you.
And is this all self-taught? How have you learned how to offer these services?
Well, I think the thing that makes me a little bit different, perhaps, is that I was taught not just from a resume writer's perspective, which is what helps me make sure that it actually looks presentable, that it looks attractive, and actually there is a lot of research that suggests the way a resume looks does impact quite heavily on the type of response that you get, because people in HR sort of they sort of quote that they get a feeling about someone based on what they see. So, if something's impeccable, if something just looks like it's had that little bit more time, they are more willing to engage. So that's one part of how I was taught, but it wasn't the only part. I was also taught, by my dear friend who is so knowledgeable about HR. So I knew it sort of from both sides. I knew not just how to please clients, not just how to make things look pleasing, but how to make sure that it actually translates into a good chance of just getting in front of the hiring manager on the other end of it. And yeah, and I just kept accumulating knowledge past that, I think, and loads of it has come through LinkedIn. I have to say it's an amazing platform to educate yourself on.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of it. And like you say, it's very tough. It's tough that loads of people trust resume writers and buy services that then turn out to not really get them where they need to be.
Yeah.
I do believe that there is an issue there, because there's almost too much information out there.
Yeah.
So anyone can start being a resume writer, and whatever they have looked at and however they've been certified, it'll be different to someone else's type of certification.
Right.
there is no regulation here. There is no kind of
No
standard.
standard. There's no standard that's set. And I think that that's maybe another area that you could add to your business, and maybe offering classes for people that do what you do to become better at offering those
Yeah.
services. I mean,
Yeah, I'm definitely considering it, just because obviously, it's painful to see people who are trying so hard, but maybe they just don't know the exact right way to help clients beat the ATS, and so many are trying so hard, and it's just not quite working for them. So I would love to help resume writers get there as well. But I do feel that some resume writers are quite extortionate. They're really charging the earth for what they're providing, and based on how many times I have redone ones that cost 600, 700, even $1,000, and didn't get someone anywhere. I mean, sometimes they've made it worse, because sometimes what they've done is they've produced one of the graphic style ones, which means that they just weren't being seen at all. Their previous one, which was very plain and not super pleasing perhaps, and not great content wise, at least would have got through the ATS and given someone a chance. So yes, I do believe that's one of the things I started my ethos on. I wanted to be affordable. I wanted to be within reach, and it's been hard because as I got more and more results, it was harder to balance, my expertise with keeping this affordable, because I want the maximum number of people possible to have access to this, because like I say, there's no regulation, there's no education on it. It's very difficult. People ask me sometimes, where should I go to get a good idea of how I should do the resume better, because I can't afford your services and I wish I could. And I wish I had a website that I could definitely send them to, but everywhere says something different. And
my pit bull wants to say hi. If you guys can't hear him, he does make an appearance occasionally. Sorry about that. I think that this is definitely an area where you could expand your business. I mean, I think that's an opportunity for you, because you are so knowledgeable, and like you said, that there is no schooling or any other types of resources besides someone like yourself that does know, that is not 10 years behind. Because
yes,
I would agree. I think that you're right, that it is probably 10 years behind in regards to what's being taught and what people think is like acceptable. I mean, with how fast we move with technology, you can't be 10 years behind, because
I mean, I get worried myself. I think, gosh, am I going to get behind in like a year? because it does move and it changes so fast. So yeah, you have to keep on top of it, and if you're going to be someone who takes other people's money in order to try and get them to a place where possibly they're out of work, or possibly they're in a bad situation, they need a better position to be in. If you're going to take money from these people, then you need to be educated, and you need to know that you can get them there. So that's what I believe, that's what I work towards, and that's what I'm always aiming for.
With that being said, Lucy, please let the audience know if they need to hire you or consult with you for your services. Let them know where they can find you and reach you.
Okay, so on LinkedIn you can find me. That's where it feels like I spend all day every day. So yes, that's just linkedin.com/in/Lucy Rivers. And if you want to go on my website, then that's www.riversresumeservices.com.
Excellent. So I will put all these links in the body of the description of this episode. I'm going to start wrapping things up here, Lucy. Is there anything, any advice or any wisdom that you'd like to impart on the audience?
No, just that I know that job searching in general is an absolute drain, and it's terrible. It's demoralizing. Honestly, I think that's that this is part of the automation process has actually made it that bit harder and more mentally taxing as well. So I understand, and you're not alone. Don't worry, and keep going, because you'll get there.
That's right. I love that. With that being said, you guys, this is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I will be back very soon with more dynamic guests.